Every type of rich person explained. Most people think rich people are all the same. A bigger house, a nicer car, a few more zeros in the bank account, and that's about it. But the moment you start paying attention, something strange happens. You realize that wealthy people often have almost nothing in common with one another except the money itself. Some want everyone to know they're rich before they even introduce themselves. Others spend decades hiding it. Some built their fortune from nothing. Others inherited it before they were old enough to understand what a fortune actually was. Some treat money like a tool. Others treat it like a scoreboard. And perhaps the most surprising part is that if you placed many of these people in the same room, they might dislike each other almost as much as everyone else dislikes them. Let's start with old money, because this is the version most people imagine when they hear the word wealthy. Old money refers to families whose wealth has survived multiple generations. These are not people who recently got rich. Their grandparents were rich. Their great-grandparents were rich. In some cases, the family fortune existed before the invention of the telephone. The interesting thing about old money is that it often tries very hard not to look rich. No giant logos. No flashy watches the size of a dinner plate. No sports cars parked outside every restaurant. In fact, one of the easiest ways to identify old money is that they frequently look less wealthy than people who have far less money than they do. They wear simple clothing, drive respectable but often unremarkable cars, and tend to value privacy almost as much as wealth itself. Their goal isn't to impress strangers. Their goal is to preserve what already exists. They think in generations rather than years. A business isn't just a business. It's something that should still exist when their grandchildren are running it. A house isn't just a house. It's a family asset expected to outlive everyone currently living inside it. To outsiders, this can seem boring. To old money families, it looks like stability, which brings us to the exact opposite. New money is wealth earned within a person's own lifetime. These are entrepreneurs, athletes, entertainers, investors, and founders who build fortunes themselves. Unlike old money, new money remembers exactly what life looked like before success arrived. That memory changes everything. When someone spends 20 years struggling before finally making millions, there is often a natural desire to enjoy the rewards. The mansion gets bigger. The vacations get longer. The cars get louder. Critics sometimes call this showing off, but from another perspective, it is simply someone enjoying something they spent decades trying to achieve. New money is usually more visible because the journey itself remains part of the identity. They remember what it took to get there, and because they remember, they often celebrate it. If old money treats wealth like a family heirloom, new money treats it like a trophy earned after a very long competition. A particularly fascinating branch of new money is the tech rich. This category barely existed a few decades ago, yet it has produced some of the largest fortunes in human history. What makes the tech rich different is the speed. Previous generations often spent decades building massive fortunes. The tech rich sometimes built them in a handful of years. A startup launched from a spare bedroom can become a billion-dollar company faster than many traditional businesses can hire their first 100 employees. The stereotype surrounding tech wealth is interesting because it often combines enormous financial success with surprisingly ordinary appearances. A billionaire wearing a plain gray t-shirt looks strange only because people expect billionaires to dress like billionaires. But many tech founders care less about displaying status and more about building systems, products, and companies. They may own private jets while looking like someone who forgot to update their wardrobe after college. The contrast itself has become part of the identity. And then there are the real estate rich, one of the oldest forms of wealth on the planet. Long before social media influencers, software companies, and venture capital firms, people were getting rich by owning land. Real estate wealth tends to attract a different personality type. Patience becomes the defining characteristic. These are people willing to wait years for investments to mature. They understand that property rarely moves quickly. Buildings are not viral trends. Neighborhoods do not transform overnight. Wealth accumulates slowly, one property at a time. The real estate rich often think differently from almost everyone else because they view time as an ally rather than an obstacle. While others chase immediate returns, they are thinking about what a location might look like 20 years from now. The result is a type of wealth that often appears boring from the outside but can become astonishingly large over long periods of time. Very different from that is the celebrity rich. Celebrity wealth operates under completely different rules because fame becomes part of the business model. Actors, musicians, influencers, and entertainers earn money not only through what they create but through who they are. Visibility itself becomes an asset. A successful movie, a hit song, or a viral moment can generate more income in a few months than many people earn in multiple lifetimes. But celebrity wealth is also unusually fragile. Public attention is one of the most unpredictable resources in existence. Today's headline can become tomorrow's forgotten memory. This is why the smartest celebrities eventually stop relying solely on fame. They build companies, invest in brands, and create assets capable of generating income long after the spotlight moves elsewhere. Fame may open the door, but lasting wealth usually requires something more durable behind it. Another fascinating category is the athlete rich. Professional athletes occupy a unique position because their earning window is unusually short. Most careers last a fraction of the time enjoyed by business owners or investors. This creates urgency. Athletes understand that their highest earning years may end before many people even reach the middle of their careers. As a result, the smartest athletes approach wealth differently. They use their sporting career as a foundation rather than a destination. Contracts provide income, but businesses create longevity. Endorsements generate cash flow, but investments build stability. The athletes who remain wealthy decades after retirement are rarely the ones who earned the most. They are usually the ones who understood that earning money and keeping money are entirely different skills. Which brings us to the investor rich, perhaps the quietest category of all. Investor wealth often develops in complete silence. No headlines, no product launches, no sold-out concerts. Just years of capital quietly growing in the background. Investors make money by identifying opportunities and allowing time to do most of the work. The interesting thing about investor wealth is that it often appears invisible until suddenly it isn't. For years, nothing seems dramatic. Then one day the numbers become impossible to ignore. Unlike entrepreneurs, investors don't always need to create something new. Their talent lies in recognizing value before everyone else does. This requires patience, discipline, and perhaps most importantly, the ability to ignore short-term noise. It isn't exciting, it isn't glamorous, but it has created some of the largest fortunes ever recorded. A much newer category is the crypto rich. Few wealth groups appeared as suddenly as this one. In previous generations, massive fortunes typically required years of effort. Cryptocurrency introduced the possibility of extraordinary gains occurring in remarkably short periods of time. People who entered early sometimes watched modest investments transform into life-changing wealth. Naturally, this attracted enormous attention. But what makes crypto wealth so fascinating isn't just how quickly fortunes were built, it's how quickly they could disappear. Volatility became part of the identity. The same environment capable of creating millionaires overnight could erase fortunes almost as quickly. As a result, the crypto rich often carry a reputation for risk tolerance unlike almost any other wealth category. They are frequently viewed as pioneers by supporters and gamblers by critics, which is one way of describing a group that tends to make both sides of the argument at the same time. Another category that often surprises people is the inheritor. At first glance, inheritors appear similar to old money, but there is an important difference. Old money usually refers to families with multi-generational wealth. An inheritor may simply receive a large transfer of wealth from parents or relatives without necessarily belonging to a centuries-old dynasty. What makes this category interesting is the challenge it creates. Building wealth requires one set of skills. Managing inherited wealth requires another. Some inheritors become exceptional stewards of family assets, growing what they receive and creating even larger fortunes. Others struggle under the responsibility. Money solves many problems, but it also creates expectations, responsibilities, and pressures that people rarely discuss openly. Receiving wealth can be a blessing, but managing it successfully remains a skill rather than a guarantee. Then there is the entrepreneur rich, a category admired almost universally regardless of background. Entrepreneurs create businesses, products, and services that generate value at scale. They are often associated with risk because entrepreneurship requires operating without certainty. Salaries disappear. Guarantees vanish. Stability becomes optional. What replaces them is possibility. Entrepreneurial wealth fascinates people because it combines imagination with execution. Ideas alone are common. Successful execution is rare. This category often develops a reputation for long working hours, relentless persistence, and unusual levels of optimism. After all, starting a business requires believing something can exist before there is evidence that it actually will. That belief becomes a competitive advantage when combined with action. And then there is perhaps the most underestimated category on this list, the quiet rich. These individuals rarely attract attention. They do not appear in headlines. They do not post photos from yachts. They do not announce investment victories to strangers online. In many cases, nobody realizes they are wealthy at all. The quiet rich often spend decades saving, investing, and living below their means. Their wealth grows slowly but consistently. While others focus on looking rich, they focus on becoming rich. The difference sounds small until you realize one approach prioritizes appearance while the other prioritizes ownership. The quiet rich frequently drive ordinary cars, live in comfortable but modest homes, and maintain lifestyles that seem surprisingly normal. Then someone eventually discovers their investment portfolio, and the entire picture changes. The most interesting part is that this category may actually be one of the largest. They simply remain difficult to notice because invisibility is often intentional, which leads to another modern category, the influencer rich. This type of wealth emerged alongside social media platforms and represents a fascinating shift in how status is displayed. Influencers monetize attention itself. Their lifestyle becomes content. Their daily activities become entertainment. Their personal brand becomes a business asset. Supporters view this as entrepreneurship. Critics view it as oversharing. Either way, the financial results can be significant. What makes influencer wealth unique is that visibility is not a side effect. It is the product. Every vacation, purchase, collaboration, and milestone potentially becomes content. The line between personal life and professional life grows increasingly blurry. Some influencers build long-lasting businesses from this attention. Others discover that internet fame can be surprisingly temporary. The challenge lies in converting visibility into something durable before the algorithm decides to pay attention to someone else. Finally, there is one category that quietly connects many others on this list, the family business rich. These individuals often grow up surrounded by entrepreneurship from an early age. Dinner conversations sound suspiciously similar to board meetings. Vacations somehow include discussions about revenue. Family gatherings occasionally turn into strategy sessions, whether anyone planned for them or not. The family business rich inherit more than money. They inherit systems, relationships, responsibilities, and expectations. Some embrace that future immediately. Others spend years trying to avoid it before eventually discovering they understand the business better than they realized. What makes this category fascinating is that success becomes both easier and harder at the same time. Easier because resources, knowledge, and mentorship already exist. Harder because comparisons become unavoidable. Every achievement gets measured against previous generations. Every decision carries the weight of family history. Yet when managed successfully, family businesses can create wealth capable of lasting for generations. And perhaps that reveals the biggest misconception about rich people. Most people talk about wealth as if it were a single destination. It isn't. Wealth is a category containing countless different paths, motivations, personalities, and lifestyles. Some people inherit it. Some build it. Some hide it. Some celebrate it. Some grow it quietly for decades. Others create it almost overnight. The money may look similar on paper, but the people behind it often couldn't be more different. And the more closely you look, the more you realize that wealth itself is usually the least interesting part of the story. The truly fascinating part is how different people choose to use it, protect it, display it, or ignore it altogether. Because those choices often reveal far more about human nature than any bank account ever could.